Oh, yeah. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Intrigue Dynamite Show, the late night show. What you say, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Intrigue Dynamite Show. This is the late night version. Because I said, you know what, let me reach out to the people. Let me just reach out and connect. You know. I said there was something on my mind. I said, man, I'm doing all these different things. I'm putting all this different content out. I said, well, shoot, man. Birthday coming up. Yes, birthday is actually on the 18th. Yeah, Monday. But as it stands, I'll be busy Monday. And I'm going to be doing the live stream Sunday, which is the subject matter that I did the preview video about, dealing with the sex, magic, and mind control. Now, look, the direction that I'm going to go with this, guys, it's probably not what you're thinking. So, this episode right here, this live stream is going to be pretty much, who the hell is Intrigue Dynamite? Who is this dude? They be doing all these videos and all of this stuff. Who is you? Now, we all know, it's who are you for all you English fanatics, and proper speakers and all of that. Yeah. Here's what I am trying to get this mess together. Where is this stuff? 1 second here. Okay. There we go. Yeah, so I said, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just break it down. So that way, from this point forward, we could say that we're family. We know each other. Cause, you know how it was back in the day when I was a kid, 1980 something. At the time, it was 1980 something. They were like, don't talk to strangers. That was a real big thing in the 80s, don't do drugs and don't talk to strangers, everybody. Just stay away from strangers. So what we're going to do is we're going to mitigate that right now. We're going to eliminate that as a factor altogether. We're going to talk about who is this character in this Intrigue Dynamite channel? What's going on with this? Well, here's the gist of it, guys. Okay, so some of y'all know just how deep I get into the idea of critical thinking and the ability to use your mind and to be able to really sort through the variables. Now, no one is truly going to be able to be like, so, not everybody is a savant and can really, be like Rain Man. You throw some matches on the ground and they can, 149 just by looking at the matches on the ground, no. But I do believe that everyone has the ability to use a level or to tap into a level of thinking that they have either been trained out of or don't realize that they're doing, when they are very proficient at something. What am I talking about? Well, what I'm talking about kind of has to do with my story. When I was a kid, and I'll put it to you this way. My dad came to me and my dad was like, they thought you were retarded. I was like, what are you talking about? They thought you were retarded. Yeah. But my dad was not someone that likes to, hold his words back. He didn't really mince words when I was a kid growing up. So my dad kind of just put things out. Now, at the time that he revealed this to me, they thought you were retarded. I was already a grown man at this time. So, I'm like, what you talking about? He said, they wanted to put you on medication because they thought you were retarded. And I said, no, this is my dad speaking. I'm like, okay. Elaborate. He's like, yeah, the teachers, they would say you would just go in and just not. You wouldn't talk and you would just kind of just be all to yourself, like antisocial. Like, they felt like you had a focus issue and blah, blah, blah. And, like you were just retarded or something. Now, that's funny because, I guess this was just his way of just relaying just his idea of what they were saying, which I think what they were saying was, oh, he seems like he doesn't have like crowd participation. All my dad heard was retarded. They could have been like, well, he seemed like he's just antisocial all the time. So all my dad heard was retarded. Apparently, because that's how he revealed it to me. Now, I thought about that. I said, that's interesting. And I pondered on it for a second. And I said, yeah, I was like that. I was like that as a child. And the funny thing is, I still kind of am like that as an adult. But what it was, okay. To wrap up my dad's story, my dad, essentially was like, hey, they want to put you on medication and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, we didn't put you on medication. Because my dad kind of, he kind of views his sons as reflection. At that time, he reviewed us as a reflection of him. I'm sure that still exists, but so it's like that type of parent that if you hit your knee, they'll say, "Oh, I didn't feel anything. That didn't hurt me, so it couldn't hurt you." Well, I grew up, under that type of tutelage. It was that, hey, look, there's not too many opportunities that you do get to cry. So make the times that you do choose to cry count, which is that type of environment that stop being a crybaby. There ain't no real opportunity for emotion all of the time. So my dad would, how he would just put things was like just bam, blood. Well, now I thought about that. I said I was like that, and I still am kind of like that. In this way, when I was a kid, I would observe things. And the way that I would observe is I would be in the back, off to the side, observing, learning the room. You see, my dad, my dad, he came from a family of brainy people. Very educated, brainy people. My dad, he's an electrical engineer. with his brother, who's a medical doctor, and then my aunt, before she passed away, she was receiving her PhD in mathematics. She had already had her master's. She could get her PhD. So the thing is so I came from this family, where I come from this family of, this, like education and thinking and, it is, and status or seem to have been like of utmost importance, right? Here's the interesting thing, guys. I went that way. It's like my family was this way. I went that way. Now, it was an interesting journey because at that time, let's see. Look, we're talking, and I don't know how old a lot of you, some of you guys are, but hey, if you would put your age in the chat or in the comment section, so I can get a gauge of who it is I'm speaking with. That way, some of the older OGs, or some even the guys that are older than me or my age, around that era, man, I can include y'all in on this conversation because there's I believe that, hey, I could use my platform to kind of, get some other input from some of y'all guys, so y'all could kind of really, give y'all feedback regarding the era that I'm talking about. Now, so at that time, let's see, where was I? Yeah, in these 80s. Ooh, man, God dog, man, I kind of lose that train of thought quickly. So I got it because my mind is like, I think of multiple things all at once. That's part of that creativity thing that I have going on. Well, now, so when I was growing up in this type of family, Thanksgiving was very interesting. So we would be, we would go to grandma's house, Now we're talking Louisiana. Grandma was Big Mama. It was at that, during that time where Big Mama was still Big Mama. I don't know what we have today. I think Big Mamas are gone now. I don't think that what we have now is Big Mama. Maybe there's a few more left. There's a few more left. I ain't gonna be so greedy and say the last Big Mama was when mine died. No, look, we all we know what Big Mama is. And just because you a grandma right now, that don't make you Big Mama. So anyway, we would go around there by my grandmother, and you could it was amazing just seeing these minds. And I'm a kid, just sitting there witnessing these black people. And let me tell you something, I didn't see this on TV. Because the scene that was taking place in my grandmother's house between my father, my uncles, my aunts, and their aunts and uncles, like my dad's aunt, uncles, all of them. This was during a time that it was an abomination. It was forbidden for a child to speak while an adult was speaking. And, really, to tell you the truth, like it was a privilege for a child anyway to be in the same room as an adult during these times. Because typically what they would do is they would isolate the kids into some little room somewhere in some closet somewhere that they had to play with some cousins that they didn't like, or they would stuff us all in that room, and all the adults would go into this particular room where they would have their late hours, where they'd be drinking, smoking. During these times, there was a clear boundary between adult behavior and child behavior. Nowadays, it's kind of, it's kind of all mixed together. It's kind of, it's difficult to determine what is adult content and what is suitable for children, gauging from what they're allowing in children's content. But it was a privilege to be in the same room with the adults. And typically it would be while we're eating, during Thanksgiving. And I would be sitting there witnessing the conversations going on, these minds battling one another. And these minds are educated and have the highest degrees. And it's not like, shout out to like the cats that didn't do STEM, but these are all STEM, like my family, all STEM stuff. And just sitting there witnessing that, I was eager to put my 2 cents in, or to get to a stage or a state where I could put my 2 cents in. But here's the thing. The moment I did, because my dad, he had a way, I'll say this, the way that I think right now, the way that my ability to think, having a father who was, as he put it, he was the only black person, the only black man to graduate the year that he graduated with his degree in electrical engineering during that time that he graduated, during the 60s. Not 60s. He graduated during the 70s. He graduated high school 60s, graduated during the 70s. During that time, he said he was the only black person to. So the level of scrutiny that he would place on all of our thoughts that we would relate to him, it's like, come on, man. Like, look, there has to be some level of, you know how you let somebody win in like a wrestling match a little bit? No, not. Somebody that's weaker than you, that you could beat them. So, so you let them feel a little. Not my dad. Nope. My dad was harsh on your thoughts. And the interesting thing is that I believe that way of raising boys is discouraged right now, because we have a lot of women that have a say-so in man and boy. Man, boy, meaning like father, son. There's a lot of women that have a say-so and that do say so. So what I'm saying is, back in those days, yeah, you had a mother that had a say-so, but she didn't say so. Because she backed off of father doing something with the son to raise his boy, because she didn't walk the path of the father. It was kind of understood that daddy used to be a boy. There are things that he could teach the son that I can't teach him. So I ain't gonna say so, right? So there was a time where daddy had a say so, and mama backed off. Daddy would have son out there chopping wood at 5 years old. Right now, mom would be like, oh my goodness, an axe is too sharp for him. Let me tell you something, man. I saw some of the way that our Caucasian brethren and sisterin in this country are raising their children. Man, they have these little toddlers out there with guns shooting. You understand? Because it's not about how you feel. It's about you guiding them on this path of life and preparing them for the things that will inevitably come their way early on so that they can have an advantage over everyone else. But when you coddle your children and hide everything from them, oh my goodness, not understanding the importance of letting a child cry. Always rushing to their aid or rushing to their defense for everything. No. See, now children are different, but during that time, the time that I'm talking about, there was a lot of think through itness, you know? Well, let me not ramble too much on about my past and upbringing, but I say this, that in that I developed an ability to think that did not reflect itself in my academic work. What? Academic? Yeah. And let me tell you something. Do you know that I have found some of the most brilliant minds? Well, and when I say brilliant minds, it's not I'm not talking about the ability to regurgitate something that you heard that was clever that someone else wrote. I'm not talking about your ability to recite history and all of that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about some of the most brilliant minds that I have met. By brilliant minds, I'm talking about the ability to take knowledge from different places and connect the dots in order to figure stuff out. It's like a resourcefulness. It's okay. Let me give you this example. Let me see if I can pull something up that I can share with you. Yeah, this right here is pretty much a freestyle show, guys. This is us just chatting. So you get to know a little bit about me. And, happy birthday to me. Yeah. So, and what this whole channel is all about. Okay. Now, let's see. Okay. Here's a good example. When I say like the people that I've met out there have the ability to think. I want to make this distinction: the ability to think versus educated. Now, let me tell you something, guys. I come from a background surrounded by educated people, surrounded by them. Let me tell you, I grew up in New Orleans. I was born in New Orleans, Louisiana. And to this day, people don't believe that I'm from New Orleans. You don't sound like you from New Orleans. Exactly. That's the type of family that I grew up around. Now, every so often, you might hear a little piece of something come out. Because, hey, there's little things that we can't help. That's just part of the culture. And, hey, who knows? It might be a slight, as a matter of fact, I was actually going to say code switch. Might be some sort of code switch there, but no, it's actually the other way around. I had to learn how to code switch the switch. That's how my family was. They were very, don't say it like that, say it like this. But what that was birthed out of was not out of some level of arrogance better than everyone. No, my grandmother, my mother's mom, really instilled in us that this is the world that we are facing. And in order for you to have a better opportunity and get further in this world, you have to be able to, at the least, articulate yourself well. At the least. And be able to articulate yourself in multiple different arenas. Here's the misconception that a lot of people had. So growing up, I remember this one girl. She was like, "Hey, I want you to come meet my mama." And at this time, I was a young teenager. I'm about to get some action. She bringing me home to meet mama. She brought me in there to meet her, and she said, "Mama, listen to how he talk. He sound like a white boy." I was like, "God damn, okay." I thought I was about to get some. She got me in here as a dog on Sideshow Bob, so her mama could listen to the way that I spoke. The misconception is people thought that being able to speak properly or to enunciate yourself, at least to the point where you sound halfway like you got some sense, was to be white. So I was dealing with that. The funny thing is, they don't factor in that, man. Hey, look, down south, do you know? You know how many white people do not sound like I sound? But but I grew up in this environment that it was like, even to be able to speak with some level of excellence is to be anything other than black, which is that's a diss, really, so that's kind of crazy. That was crazy. I don't know if that's a big thing now, but I know it was a big thing back then. So even like growing up around that, I was kind of this oddball. Already, some teachers saying, "Oh, you retarded." Well, how my dad put it, but really it was just me to myself. But let me tell you what actually was even in all of these different, these influences, my dad, the electrical engineer, which is why I got heavily into electronic design. I build my own, circuits, do, all sorts of engineering projects matter of fact, this thing back there, that is a Bluetooth speaker that I built out of cigar boxes. I said, you know what, let me make something. So I took a host of cigar boxes and I made this Bluetooth speaker, designed it, put like some, I did all the electronics on the inside, and it works. Got like, So that's something that I did because I felt like it. That was an influence from my dad, right? But, but with that aside, one of the actual greatest influence all my life, my grandmother, my mama's mama. Now, all of this leads to this part that I'm gonna say right here, because you might be looking at the title. Here's the interesting thing about the title. The title wasn't talking about me. Critical thinking and high IQ while black. Now, I'm not talking about me. I'm actually talking about all of you. That's who I'm really talking about. All of you. I'm just talking about my story and how certain elements in my environment didn't allow me to actualize the real potential of my mind. I mean, because seeing it happen in my family, I'm like, okay, yeah, all these people, yeah, okay, all y'all achieving these things. So yeah, sure, if intellect or some mental aptitude is genetic, then sure, I'm sure something's there, but I'm not seeing it right now. I don't know what was going on. Let me tell you, I struggled in school. And my grandmother instilled something in me early on that would be that red pill, that, the Neo, blue pill, red pill, that thing that you swallow, or that switch that you click on, and everything opens up and becomes clear. It's like something that you hear when you're a kid. Like for instance, you might have a conversation, or an adult will say something, and you don't know what the adult is talking about. You're 4 years old, but that conversation is recorded in your mind. And then next thing you know, it pops back in your mind when you're 30. You're like, wow, I remember. And you understand everything because you've lived a little bit. And now you all of a sudden understand that conversation once it popped back in your mind. Well, that's kind of how it was. I was 6 years old, and I was being taught how to ride a bike by my dad. But my dad, he liked to, he was not very, oh my goodness. Yeah, okay. Him trying to teach me how to ride a bike, it was scary. Man, look, we're talking, look. Yeah, he was a boomer. We're talking about, he grew up in an era where his dad, my grandfather was military. So there you go. Well, that didn't work out too well. My grandmother came to visit. And she saw that I was, she saw that I didn't have training wheels on my bike. So I guess that my mom told her that, we were trying to learn how to ride a bike. On two wheels. Me and my older brother, he's 11 months older than me. He couldn't ride a bike either. Well, my grandmother, and my mother came to pick me up from school. And my grandma saw a boy riding a bicycle across the tracks. And she said, look, you see him? He's riding his bike. Maybe when you get home, you can ride your bike just like he is. And something happened in my mind. And it was like a switch, and I was locked up. Let me tell you what happened. Long story short, when I made it back to the house, I asked my mom, can I ride my bike? She was like, yeah, go ahead. And I hopped on that bike with a level of determination to ride on two wheels. When I tell you I did. I was able to ride that bike. I was wobbling back and forth, but I was able to do it without falling. And I remember that my older brother was sitting there laughing at how much I was wobbling on the bike. He couldn't even ride one. He was still on training wheels. But I recorded that in my mind, which is the ability to see past what you have told yourself that is impossible, that you cannot do. So sometimes, like, and I don't know if, some of y'all felt like the oddball, like the black sheep, that person that is looking at everyone else. It's like, oh, you're a doctor. Oh yeah, you're the this, and oh well, yeah, we have the lawyer here, we have the this, we have the that. And you're looking at all these things happening around you, and you're saying, well, not you, but you might be feeling this, but other people also may be thinking this. Well, what happened to you? Well, what do you do? Now, you may feel embarrassed. You don't want to say anything, right? That moment made me, it was always that reflective moment, because they say, look, whenever there is a moment that you feel any level of doubt, I think this was Dr. Dwyer, he's one of these self-help guys that likes to write books and stuff. Well, whatever. In that, he would say, whenever you're in one predicament, change your paradigm or change your outlook by remembering something that brought the energy that you want. So, for instance, it was like, well, look, if you feel weak right now, you feel unconfident, you have a lack of confidence, remember a moment in time that you had confidence. And then just embody that energy and then use it now. Boom. And then you'll be able to execute. Well, that same principle, I will say, is something that I used when I would remember that moment with my grandmother instilling that it was, I think it was her belief. It was her belief without any judgment. It was just matter of fact. It was the way that she said it to a child. I was 6 years old. That made me have that level of determination to execute. So now, time passes, years pass. I became more of a self-learned, such as, like studying different languages and, learning computer programming, and then went into some of the engineering fields of like the with DOD, doing structural building, steel fab, built things. I done built everything from aircraft carriers, nuclear submarines, armored vehicles, the LCSs, the LPDs, these naval going vehicles. I done built bridges, mechanical components that grade elevators, and went and became an ASC certified master tech. I developed like from that, because my grandmother instilled in us, be something, know something, have something. And so the way that I view the world is, man, there are a lot of people that didn't have what I had growing up. There are a lot of people. Why? Because let me tell you something. I was the only friend. I was the only guy that had a dad. I was the only one that had no. There, I had one other. One other was you, but for the most part, everybody I hung with, they didn't have their dad in the house. I did, and it was a constant vetting of the way that we thought and our ability to think and to think through the situation and to understand multivariate, hold on right quick, analysis. You see, because we are at a time right now where thinking is not very popular. You understand? Hold on right quick. Who is this? What is this? I don't know what's going on here. Okay, anyway. Get out of here. Sorry about that, guys. Had a bit of a distraction. So the ability to think past the way that you feel about something. I mean, this was something that is very critical. I will say this is something that is lost right now in our community. I mean, look. I posted a riddle. Now, here's the interesting thing at the beginning of this video. I want y'all to check that out. See who can figure it out. Because I'm actually start doing monetary prizes to whoever can start figuring some of these things out. But the ability to think is not popular today. Is not popular at all. The ability to think critically is not popular. And the interesting thing is, when you to today, it is looked at as arrogant. Like, do you know how many times I've been called arrogant? Man, I had one lady. I was on a date with a lady out there. I was out there in Texas, and she called me pompous. And I've never been called pompous before, but that was the first. But the thing was, but now at this time, I think I was I was about 29. Or 28. I can't remember. But this lady was like, she was like in her, I think she was like 40. I think she was about 40 or 41. She called me pompous. Because during that time, you know, anything that you said that was jacked up, I would correct it quickly. You know, so she felt a certain way. She called me pompous. No, so that was kind of like my first experience with a woman that at that time, you know, at my age, that was looked at as a very mature woman, 40, 41. For her to not be able to accept any level of correction, that me correcting anything that she would say that was wrong, historically wrong, I was looked at as pompous. Interesting. So I found that thinking is not popular. It's not popular at all, let alone taking any level of correction. I am a student of the world. I have been around multiple people, numerous people that have gone and gotten high education in all these different degrees. And I've had debates with them, and I've bested them in debates. The thing is, I did not go. I didn't go the route that my family went. What my family did give me was the ground that to understand that education is important. That you must always be learning and learn. Learning is something that I will say should be sought with more zeal than teaching. Right? That's something that I learned. You can have a zeal for teaching, but like when, after you put the lesson book down and all, then you should get back to reading, get back to learning. Because there's a saying that if you're the smartest person in every room, if you're always the smartest person in the room, then you're hanging out or hanging around the wrong rooms, something like that. You get the gist. And you should always be around people in environments that are rich to teach or learn, or that you can give some level of input to. Well, I don't think that's very popular today. And I see what's happening with children, and I know what my children have come to me and said. And I was always sitting and logically, because that's the thing, I would sit and logically pose a rebuttal or a question about certain inconsistencies. And I would do this with, first of all, my peers, and then with my own children, which would force them to think. What I found with adults is that adults, for the most part, they have the understanding that there's a corner right there where their thinking stops. That's what they call backed into a corner, where their argument has reached its end, and it's a dead-end argument, and they will avoid it. They will pretend like you didn't just say what you said, because there's more ego when dealing with adults. Today it's more like, I just want to be right, whatever. So sometimes it's harder to get adults to be okay with thinking, or to be okay with the idea of being wrong, or to be okay with the idea of on the spot rethinking the argument that you argued with so much passion and so much zeal, that once you have this new piece of information, that you're able to on the spot at least say, well, I'm going to have to go back and re-examine my belief on this, or re-examine this newfound information and check it out. No, adults typically have ego, and they don't want to, admit to being wrong. Whereas with children of a certain age, like especially like preteen, that's what I found, that they are very into engaging with you about different ideas, testing their ideas. Well, what about this? Well, what about that? Well, then this, blah, blah, and blah, blah, blah. They're using their knowledge, the extent of their knowledge, to gain a better understanding or to challenge a narrative that they do not have full understanding of. That their understanding has brought them to this capacity. So now they're arguing. With children, it's so much easier. But when you have bull-headed parents that don't want to learn, then we can cultivate a generation of children that become bull-headed adults as well. And we all sit and wonder where it all comes from. Well, I don't really know how much more to put to this, but I can get deeper into all the other different things, you know, like what type of cake I like and all this, that, and the other. Look, you know what I am? I'm a guy that was given something, given a gift, the gift of, I think, an ability to think and figure anything out. Do you know when anything was broken, people would bring it to me to fix it? Because I could pretty much fix anything. Like electronic, oh my goodness. The itty bitty microscopic electronics, people bring, I would do it because it was fun. It was a challenge. But here's the thing. You can have education and not have the ability to think. See? Now, guys, once again, welcome to the Intrigue Dynamite Show. Don't know who's here, but if you're here, hey, this is just a freestyle show. This is just who is Intrigue Dynamite. Well, this is who I am. So, the ability to think and education are two different things. But here's what education will get you, and this is something that I learned. Because education is in information. It is not in an institution. It is in information. You understand that? This is what I need for people to understand. You can learn everything that there is about medicine and human body, human anatomy, but if you want to go work at the hospital, then you have to go through that institution. But you can know just as much as that doctor without having the paperwork. The thing is to get education is just to gain the information. But the ability to think is differently. It is different. But when you couple education with the ability to think, because that's what you have to learn first, is how to think. A lot of us don't know how to think because we have not been cultivated in an environment that challenges your ideas constantly, where everything is a debate. And you have to be able to back it up. Back up your argument and back it up logically. Well, this is education versus the ability to think. Education is every plant needs H2O. Every plant needs water to grow. Right? Versus someone who designs or someone who fashions an irrigation system to deliver water to the crops in their village. Both of them know that plants need water to grow. That's education. I have that knowledge now. But how did that person deliver water to their crops? Did they learn that? Did they have to go to an institution and this, that, and the other? Or was it trial and error? How did these civilizations develop? Did they go to an institution or was it trial and error? And then a compilation of trial and error, the perfected form, was then all collected into one place called school. Because before there was that, there was people out there doing it and then passing the knowledge down. You didn't have to go get paperwork. And there were highly functioning people. It was almost, man, it was like you were almost looked at as like a king, like real royalty, to have some level of education. But nowadays, hearing some of this rhetoric coming from people that boast these degrees, It's no wonder people look at them and they laugh and be like, man, you wasted your time. I mean, have you heard some of the stuff that's coming out of these schools? I mean, look, that's not the end of that. I'm not going to have that conversation, but right now. But the point that I'm making is some of the most brilliant people among us don't have any paperwork behind their name. Some of the most brilliant people among us, they are in an environment that has not allowed them to actualize their high intellect or their ability to think critically in situations, because they have not had either that person that says the right thing, that puts them on the frequency to remember something from back then. But a matter of fact, look, I had a buddy. Guy couldn't really read. Couldn't read or anything. The guy I grew up with, he was not the smartest cat. Always would ask me, how you spell this? How you blah blah blah. And I'd be like the personal dictionary and defining all these words and having But one thing about this cat is, man, this dude had a memory. I was like, God, dog, how do you remember all of this stuff, man? You know how, okay, most of us, man, we'll have our phones. We'll use we'll pick up our phone and be like, okay, yeah, GPS. And we use the GPS to drive there. And we have to use the GPS to make our way back. Not this cat. This dude used the GPS to get there, and that's it. Now he remembers it. I'll be like, bro. I'll be like, which way do we? Yeah, you gotta make a left. I'm like, what? Yep. Make a left. Red trash can. Blah blah blah. What I'm saying is, man, I have seen genius ability within people within, especially black community. I've seen genius ability at that there's no paperwork that shows, or that would be the confidence bringer, for other people to have confidence in your. Man, I have seen genius ability, all throughout the black community. What I saw missing was the ability to think. I saw genius ability all over the place, and I'm like, man, bro, if you had the ability to think, because, so you have all this, you might have information, you might even have, let's say, an ability to just count numbers, just see things, just know, like my thing was, a problem solving. I was able to locate lost things in the house just by deductive reasoning and just doing these, sorts of. Well, that was my thing. But if I'm just sitting there just with this thing and don't know where to put it and how to allocate it, then I'm another dummy. If I'm homeless just like everybody else and sitting on the curb, then I'm going to be looked at in the same vein as the guy who's digging in his butt and licking his fingers, eating out the trash can. We're both going to be looked at the same, right? Because both of us are looked at as being non-productive. So I found that to be very interesting. It was like, so my ability to think and then suddenly being awakened later, it let me see throughout a lot of my friends that, man, these guys have these gifts, man. these guys have these gifts that other people that had the environment, meaning like someone that recognized, okay, like for instance, I was looking at this chess grandmaster, this Japanese chess grandmaster, Hikaru Nakamura. And he was talking about his, I play chess too. So if any of y'all want the smoke, I don't mind, spanking you on the chessboard. But anyway, so Hikaru Nakamura was talking about his, upbringing. Hikaru Nakamura, he's a Japanese American. He was talking about his upbringing and how his parents, like, they would pay his money, blah, 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 because he had to travel the world to go to all of these different tournaments. I think he became a grandmaster at like 14, maybe 15 years old, or maybe was it 30, whatever. Whatever. He was a young grandmaster. He did a lot of world traveling. Why? Because his parents were able to see a passion that he had, and they were able to cultivate it, invest in it. All right? A lot of us, we had parents that just trying to make ends meet. So they weren't able to take these certain things and invest in certain aspects that we really shined in. That other people that had resources and the time to talent scout will probably look at you and say, man, you're a genius. Like, this person is a genius. And some people who got lucky, that were people, teachers that weren't so biased, were able to look at them and say, man, we could do this with your child or whatever. A lot of people in Black society did not have that. And, society in general, but I'm talking about what I saw growing up. Because the environment kind of didn't allow them to, I will say, well, I'm speaking of the parents. It didn't really allow them to really like focus wholeheartedly on what the things that their kids were. Look, mommy, look when I drew. Okay, yeah, baby, yeah, whatever. I'll tell you this. I also was a hell of an artist. Pencil. I would do things to where, I wanted it to look realistic. My dad didn't know I can draw till I was 15 when my dad found out how good of an artist that I was drawing. 15. Same household. He was ready. He didn't even know. Because typically, a lot of us, well, I'll say in Black society, what I noticed was it would be a parent that was hell-bent on something, work or doing whatever it was that they had to do. That it wasn't like I saw with a lot of parents that had money. A lot of money that had, a lot of money, they can kind of just, let's give him violin lessons. Let's do this and let's do that. Well, a lot of us, I'll say this, a lot of people that I've met are closeted. They are closeted savants. Look, some of y'all, and you know it, because some of y'all have bosses or managers, supervisors that y'all like, man, I'm smarter than this person. How did you get this position? Right? Well, I think that is very important to put content out that challenges, especially the status quo, because look, all of this sweet talk, all of the articulate, look, guys, I had the best of both worlds. I was able to, after a certain age, I found myself right in the gutter. I was like the prodigal son, the one that didn't have to go that way, but chose. And I wound up going and venturing out, and just seeing things. I was like Pinocchio out there. And let me go see this and being around all of these different walks of life and all of these different people. And the interesting thing is, man, I was around some very hardened people. Some cats that's dead and gone now. But I was able to go there, and what they saw, I believe what they saw was, first of all, a guy that was not from that. You know. They saw this kid. Okay, I see that you ain't got the same background that like really growing up in this environment, but I see you here in this environment now. So blah blah blah, and I would get a lot of schooling from these guys, and they respected me, and I respected them. And so the things that I observed during that stage in my life, because I'm talking like I found myself in that situation when I was like a teenager, and it was like a rude awakening. Very, very, very rude awakening. And seeing all of these different walks of life, one thing that I found in common with everyone. Everybody was trying, for the most part, to live. That's it. Trying to get some money so they could eat. They're trying to get money so they could do this. It's like everybody was trying to live. I gotta go to school so I can get this and get that, so I can make this money, so I can. What happens though is when everyone is trying to live, is people start outsourcing their critical thinking. They start outsourcing their reasoning skills because I ain't got no time to research this. Wait a minute. Okay, and let me just, CNN? Okay, that's cool. What CNN say? Okay, they say don't take this medicine. I ain't gonna take it then. Oh, they said that's bad. Okay, good. Then I'm gonna do this. Or they said that I should get this. Okay, good. Then I'm gonna do that. And people just stop thinking. People stop. They don't want to hear any new information because one thing that people don't want to believe is that they've been duped a lot of times. So they'll sit and they'll allow people to lie and twist narratives and feed BS because they don't want to believe that they made the wrong decision. That's ego. Ego. And I said, if I can help it, I am going to utilize the brain that God gave me and hand it through my bloodline. I'm going to use my brain, my voice, and my ability to critically think and to learn as well as a student down to the molecular level if I have to stop some of this foolishness that is being pushed out here. And not just that, not just to stop it, but also to talk about it and to ask some questions about different ideas. This platform here is the place where you go, where we go to think critically. I'm not talking about like this emotion. I feel wonderful, but no, I'm talking about critical thinking with logic. data, information, these things. If you say, look, I feel this, okay, yeah, I respect that. Your feelings are important to a degree. But whatever you believe in, can you defend it? And can you defend it without running away from the idea that a corner inevitably lies ahead? Woo! Twisting on that one. So that is who Intrigue Dynamite is. And if you do not like to have your ideas challenged or to have to answer critical questions, to have your ideas vetted, or to even just hear an interesting perspective about a long-held belief that you had, well, that means that you're living underneath a rock. Inside your own, matter of fact, your own little bubble. No one can challenge.
No, it's my reality. No. Men are women and women are men. Meh.
Yeah. Well, as long as me and people like me, well, as long as I am around and people like me, ain't no doggone way. It's called logic. It's called facts. It's called, let's just put the information out there and see what sticks. Because I'm searching for the truth. There's no such thing as higher truth, lower truth. There's truth. And that's what we all should be in pursuit of. So guys, stay tuned. The actual live stream on Sunday is coming, because I told you this is going to be a good one. Sex magic and mind control. It's not going to be the direction that you probably think I'm going. So stay tuned in. See y'all Sunday. And anybody, said happy birthday. Appreciate the birthday stuff. There is a Cash App right there. I mean, hey, it is what it is. But all right, guys. Till next time. Think. Use your brain. You heard?